Coming up, we saddle up with horse trainer and national champion Lisa Gallery as she shows us what it takes to really connect with horses.
If you're quiet and you're listening to the horse, then they're going to give you that in return.
And Cherokee tattoo artist and actress Nathalie Standingcloud tells us how her two artistic endeavors promote positive Cherokee representation.
I feel very honored to be the person to be trusted with this artwork that's been passed down from our ancestors.
Plus, we hit the ice with Cherokee Nation citizen and curling enthusiast Eric Vardeman to explore this unique sport.
The first time I threw a stone and didn't fall over, it lived up to everything that I thought it would.
And learn about the Cherokee Public Schools Act and how our tribe reclaimed the education of our people.
We wanted to be able to have school that was going on in our own language, and the idea was to have schools that were for Cherokees, run by Cherokees.
The Cherokees.
A thriving American Indian tribe.
Our history.
Our culture.
Our people.
Our future.
The principles of a historic nation.
Sewn into the fabric of a modern world.
Hundreds of thousands strong.
Learning. Growing.
Succeeding.
And steadfast.
In the past, we have persevered through struggle.
But the future is ours to write.
Osiyo.
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 These are the voices of the Cherokee people.
Osiyo, I'm Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. Welcome to Tahlequah, Oklahoma, capital city of the Cherokee Nation. For generations, the Cherokee story has been told by others. Today, through this groundbreaking series, we're taking ownership of our own story and telling it as beautifully and authentically as we can. I hope you enjoy these profiles of our people, our language, our history, and our culture. And please make plans to come visit us sometime. Wado.
Osiyo, it's how we say hello in Cherokee. I'm your host, Jennifer Lauren, at the Cherokee Heritage Center in Park Hill, Oklahoma. This is the site of the original Cherokee National Female Seminary, an integral part of Cherokee Nation's early endeavors to use public education to strengthen our sovereignty. We'll have more on that later in the show. Lisa Gallery says she's no horse whisperer, but you'd be hard-pressed to find someone else who has such keen communication with our equine friends. To learn more about these special relationships, I found myself saddling up to learn from Lisa.
Everybody talks about whisperers, but I don't think it's about whispering. I think it's about listening. That if you're quiet and you're listening to the horse, then they're going to give you that in return, and they're going to listen to you as well. So like right now, this little mare is kind of looking everywhere but at me. And she knows I'm here, but I'm not her focus. I'm going to try and just like move her feet a little bit and get her to focus back on me. Get her to think. So she's got to tune in a little harder and figure out what I'm asking. That's not it. I do feel a kinship with the horses, an understanding with them, an ability to communicate with them. That they're listening to what kind of little subtle hints from you, and they'll take those cues when you're on their back too. I'm not one of the big trainers. I've got a small facility. You know, I don't have the fancy indoor arenas, all those things. I've got to work around the weather and just have a small 4-horse barn. But for my horses, I like them to be outside. They may be in a 2-acre pasture or a 100 by 200 pen. I just think it's better for them mentally to be there, and then I'm going to be able to accomplish more with them. They're going to be happier as a performance horse, being able to live more like a horse and stay outside. So we're just going to be doing mostly a little bit of dry work, just kind of keeping her focused, keeping her slow, because she is such a hot little mare that keeping her mind quiet and not anticipating, like she tries too hard is her biggest problem. She's like, what do you want next? What do you want next? And just trust that I'm going to tell her what I want in a timely fashion so we can get our jobs done. You know, somebody that's, got a young horse that's not been started, maybe looking for a trainer just to help them get them started under saddle. Because for most trainers, most horsemen, you don't get a second chance at that first 30 days. And they can learn so much, whether it's good or bad, with that initial experience that they have. You have to have a certain amount of tenacity in order to deal with them. Because horses are kind of like toddlers, I guess. They're gonna push the limits. They wanna see, like, can I get away with this today? Can I get away with this today? If not, okay, well, how about if I try this for you? And so if you don't kind of set the boundaries, again, just like kids, then they're gonna be like, oh, well, I got away with that yesterday. I think I'm gonna up my game a little bit today. It's really fun to take a horse that hasn't been started, that's not broke, because they make such huge strides so quickly. And you can just feel the progress. I know me, a lot of the trainers that I know and look up to, like you're always learning. There's always something else you can learn. Each different horse teaches you something new. You never know it all. It's like when you're training them especially, it's like you're a puppeteer. And so your reins, your seat, your legs are all the strings to the puppet. And so you've got to control to a point, but that's how you're asking the horse to move.
Mm-hmm. How'd you get into riding horses?
Well, I grew up actually in Tulsa, so I was actually a city kid. But my brother, I'm a much younger child than most of my siblings. And so my brother has a large ranch up just north of Bartlesville. I can remember just always kind of being outdoors. All the cowboys I got to know up there. And so they would have a horse that was, maybe not the greatest. I mean, they wouldn't get me in trouble, but they'd give me a horse that was a little bit of trouble and have me ride it because I wouldn't care what I was on. And so that's where I just, started figuring out how to work with the horses and listen to them. And it was probably, I guess I was about 20 when I got my next horse then. But she and I just clicked. But that's where I really kind of fell in love with and started trail riding more, got into competitive trail riding probably 3 or 4 years after that, I guess. 94 was my first competitive trail ride, so. It's pretty much what it sounds like. There's a group of volunteers that go out and they'll lay a trail out for us. It might be a park like here at the Cherokee Nation Park. They're kind of all over, really, the United States. But it's all laid out outdoors, it's all natural. I think as Cherokee, that connection with nature, that stewardship of the land, I think that definitely is just deep-seated, and that all just plays into it. A huge piece of my life right now, too, is as a veterinary nurse. And I think that comes back into that same stewardship to care for the animals. And that's with the opportunity I have at the teaching hospital, still goes back to that stewardship for that next generation of veterinarians, that I can instill the knowledge that I've gained over my career and send them out as better veterinarians. Again, there's a lot of grace in these creatures to allow us to do what we do, but once you get them and you get them in line, it's just such a partnership. They'll give you everything they've got.
Here in the Cherokee Nation, storytelling is a way to pass on culture and traditions. Nathalie Standingcloud is a storyteller, but not in the usual sense of the word. Her stories are told through her award-winning art and a couple of other unique talents.
Tattooing is my way of giving my love back to the world. All my tattoos are my babies. I care so much about each and every individual one, and they're all special and unique. I do it because it's my way of loving people and helping them love themselves in a way. I grew up on the Flathead Reservation in Montana, and shortly after my younger brother was born, we moved to Tahlequah, Oklahoma to be with family. As I got older, I got more involved with my Cherokee culture side because I didn't grow up with that traditional family. It came later on in life. And so whatever opportunities came up for me to get more connected to the culture, I definitely stepped into that. Ever since I can remember, I've just really loved making stuff. I love drawing, just doing anything with my hands. I would get in trouble in class for drawing on myself, so I would draw on other people, like do little tattoos then. You know, it was something that I was good at, but I never really focused on it or really poured myself into it. It wasn't until I got older that I realized, you know, this could support me for the rest of my life. So that's when I really started to take it seriously and take pride in calling myself an artist and believing myself in that way. You want to see my spot?
See your spot.
I met my dad when I was 8, and one of the first things I recognized about him is that he was just covered in tattoos. He got most of those when he was in prison. That's also where he learned how to tattoo, because he's tattooed himself. It's like, how did you do that? Sometimes he would show me, and it wasn't until I was 16 that I was like, you know what, I'm ready, and I want my dad to tattoo me. I knew that if this was something I was going to do, I was going to do it right. I wanted to do an apprenticeship, and thankfully around that time, the guy who had a shop all the way to the next town over, his daughter told him about me, and he was the one who offered my apprenticeship so I could get started and be professional.
You've accomplished so much just in a short amount of time. I've been tattooing for 20 years and haven't got this far, so that's what you always want as a parent, you know, for your child to go further than what you have. And she's got it in her DNA and blood. It makes me really proud and really, you know, fills me with joy. It's what I've always hoped for and dreamed of, so it made me very proud. Proud of it. Bring it in.
When I finished my first tattoo, the satisfaction I got out of that was way different than anything I've ever put on paper. Everybody is unique and they have their own background and story that attaches them to this artwork.
Yo, those are my pride and joys, my babies. These are my babies.
So today I'm gonna tattoo Kelly Gonzalez. She's a really good friend of mine. I've been tattooing her for a while now.
Super cute. Thank you. Like your shirt.
The design she sent me today was one of her leaves that she usually draws, her signature leaf.
Hello, my name's Charlie.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
What do you think? You want to get started?
Yeah.
All right, then.
I'm excited.
Throughout life, we do the most we can to avoid pain. The beautiful thing about tattoo pain is that it's pain that you choose. People get tattoos for all different reasons. Some people get memorial tattoos of a loved one that they've lost, and that tattoo pain almost heals that emotional pain in a sense. People get friendship tattoos to remember a funny time whenever that they had. I love being a part of that. I've had a lot of my clients who are Cherokee come to me to get their Cherokee tattoos, whether it be syllabary, whether it be a symbol. You know, these are indigenous, these are old, sacred designs.
Yeah,
like
they would put X's for like however many lives they took in battle, or seems like men's tattoos were about taking life and women's were about giving
life. That's poetry.
So when non-Native people see these, it provides a talking space for them to ask questions and know more from that person. Realize that we're not just these fantasy creatures that don't exist anymore, that we're still here in modern times living with society without the feathers and the beads and stuff like that. I try my best to kind of help push those images forward.
On this side. And a lot of people think like these are warrior tattoos and like maybe you shouldn't get them if you haven't gone to war, but it's like I've done I have a college degree, that's good enough.
Right, like we don't really do wars anymore, but we do graduate.
I have a
that should be celebrated. Yeah.
I provide a nice safe space for other indigenous people to come in with their own cultures, designs and patterns and things of that sort. So it's not just Cherokee. Like I love to serve other Native people and their cultures, special artworks.
Settled and action.
I think the main reason why I never took myself seriously as an artist is because I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be on Disney, Nickelodeon. I love to play, you know? And being an actress allows me to continue playing even as an adult. I did a lot of plays. I did state competitions in drama, documentaries, the Trail of Tears drama. I played the granddaughter in that. Dorothy. You know, my grandmother, she asked me, she's like, oh, you're gonna be in The Wizard of Oz. I go, what's your part? And I was like, Dorothy. And she's like, Dorothy? What? And that blew my whole family away. Toshu. I was a lead in that movie, and it was huge. But man, just being the lead, it's a lot. And I'm just happy to get any part. I just want to be on the team. I just want to play. So getting that role meant a lot to me, and I just thought, this is the beginning. I can run with this too. I can do both. And since then, the productions just keep getting larger. The thing I just most recently did was Reservation Dogs, which is a new native TV show coming soon. It's going to be a good one. I knew I had this inside of myself for a while. I just needed the opportunity. I see a lot more opportunities for natives in TV and film, and I'm very excited. And not just to play Native American parts. Native people are writers just as much as they are actors, and that these writers are providing more opportunities for the actors. And we're all working as a team, as a community, to help us achieve this goal of telling our own truths. Art of tattooing and the art of acting, they both tell stories, for sure, whether it's in the design or in the plot. And it's funny because they both have lines that I gotta follow. I think they're both really important. It's a blessing to finally find my spot in the world, and now I'm just gonna run with it.
Cut. All right, cut. Very good.
Upon arrival in Indian Territory after the Trail of Tears, the Cherokee Nation found itself divided politically and socially. With European settlers intruding further west, tribal leaders knew they needed to prepare their people to withstand the challenges ahead. In this Cherokee Almanac, we look at the Cherokee Public Schools Act and how our tribe was strengthened and united through education. After our tribe's forced removal to new lands in Indian Territory, Cherokee leaders sought ways to establish sovereignty and to protect Cherokee identity.
In the post-removal moment, the Cherokee Nation's torn apart, and there's also three kind of distinct political parties, so to speak. And we need to remember that those three political bodies have to be unified. And that's easier said than done.
In the face of deep political and social division, one thing most Cherokees could agree on was that education was essential to strengthening and uniting our people. In 1841, the Cherokee National Council passed the Public Schools Act, creating an extensive public school system for Cherokees of all ages. Cherokee leaders reasoned that producing our own teachers, political leaders, and businessmen would best ward off the influences of American colonialism and fortify the Cherokee Nation amidst a vastly changing world.
We started out with 8 districts, and the idea there was to have a school in each district. And it was up to the district and whoever was sort of in charge of that district to set themselves up a superintendent of the school, to raise money for that school, to make sure that that school was stocked with supplies and books and had a teacher.
Prior to 1841, virtually all aspects of Cherokee education were controlled by missionaries from various denominational backgrounds. The passage of the Public Schools Act took the first steps toward removing missionary influence and reclaiming the education of our own people.
Missionaries are more than happy to step in to provide English literacy. Well, that's not necessarily what all Cherokee people are interested in. Some are, but many aren't. And so Cherokee people have kind of long said we want a certain kind of education in order to provide the futures that our children need.
Despite the new Cherokee-run public school system, locating Cherokee teachers proved difficult.
Most of the teachers were white. They were not Cherokee speakers, and I think we wanted to be able to have school that was going on in our own language and that maybe addressed to some extent some of our culture. And the idea was to have schools that were for Cherokees, run by Cherokees.
In order to meet the demand for Cherokee teachers and other skilled professionals, the Cherokee Nation established both the male and female seminaries in 1847, less than a decade after forced removal.
The Cherokee Public School Act is absolutely a success. What we have is Native nations bringing the concept of universal public education to a region of the U.S. Much earlier than it probably would have arrived had removal not taken place.
The thought was that, if every Cherokee can have that kind of education and that kind of chance, we're going to be able to hold our own.
Jalaki ede wanehi. Let's talk Cherokee.
Hi, Sinas. What are you doing?
Osiyo uoria. Jalaki ene wanis gesti.
Hawa.
Osta.
Sinas. Kadohadane.
Go well. Tawak sesta. Ejul. Go well dinak sesta.
Ni edu di go well degi nak sesta.
Osta. Osnindane.
Eric Vardeman is a Cherokee athlete competing in a unique sport that he says is often misunderstood. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, he's known as the curling guy, and he shares with us why this game of strategy has sometimes been called chess on ice.
People have asked me that. Why do you love curling so much? I don't know. I do not know. I have a great time watching it, and I have a great time playing it. And I don't know why I picked that sport. But I don't know. I just latched on to curling, and it just kind of just took me away. I think the first time that I threw a stone and didn't fall down, it's like a golf shot. You can just hit a bad golf shot 100 times, but you hit a good one, and suddenly you're Tiger Woods. And the first time I threw a stone and didn't fall over, it lived up to everything that I thought it would. My name's Eric Vardeman, and I'm the president and the founder of the Tulsa Curling Club. I get described a lot as the curling guy. Hey, you're the curling guy, or stuff like that. So that's just kind of the moniker I've taken on, is the curling guy. We're here at the Ice Center here in Tulsa. We call this an Instructional League. It's for people who want to come out and actually learn how to play the game. So it's like a primer, just to get you dipped in the water and get you wanting more, basically. So my name's Eric. I'm the president of the club, and we're glad to have you guys out here. We're excited about getting you on the ice. You're about to take part in something that, and this is going to sound really bold when I say this, you're about to take part in something that's going to change your life. Because there's no halfway in this, okay? Either you're gonna hate this when you get done, or you're gonna love it. A lot of people explain it as it's shuffleboard on ice, and it's kind of like that. It's got some of those elements. A lot of it is chess on ice, is how we and people in the club like to explain it. It's a lot of strategy, a lot of thinking 2 steps ahead of your opponent while they're throwing their stones, and you're trying to figure out what you're gonna do next. Those stones are made of granite, and I think they're 38 to 40 pounds of solid granite. They come from one place on the planet, a place in Scotland. It's a special kind of granite that's still heavy, but it doesn't crack whenever they bump into each other. So you have 4 people on the team. You have one skip. He's the quarterback. He's standing down at the other end, calling all the shots. So when they're down and get ready to throw a stone, he's the one at the other end telling you where to throw it and how fast.
Sweep it! Sweep it, Eric. Okay, let it go.
And then you have 3 other players who are throwing the stones, and everybody throws 2 stones on a team. So between 2 teams playing, you've got 16 stones that are being thrown during an end. And typically, most matches last between 12 and 14 ends. they score each end, and then they total up the scores at the end of the game.
Get started on time both ways.
Good curling. I grew up in Bartlesville for most of my years. I moved there when I was 10 and graduated high school from there. My parents were born and raised in Stillwell, Oklahoma. My mother is full-blood Cherokee. She is a native speaker. Her second language was English. Being Cherokee, being a native was just part of who we were. We didn't make a big deal about it if we were just native. My great-great-grandfather, Stout Chair, was actually born in North Carolina and came to Indian Territory on the Trail of Tears. And I honestly, I'd never seen these pictures until I was an adult. I think that has helped me grow in my pride of being a Cherokee. Hearing and seeing those people and seeing the genealogy and seeing their names on the roll, just to see 5, 6 generations of people that started in North Carolina and end up here, and we're still here. I'm the 7th generation of that line. In 2006, I think that was the first Olympic Games that they were on television, and I just remember seeing it and not knowing what they were doing or what it was called and not knowing how to play. And the more I watched it, the more confused I got. And so it just became, I need to know what this sport is. And by the end of it, I was just hooked on it. And then right at the end of those Olympics, a friend of mine in Oklahoma City sent me a picture that he saw a flyer and said, "You're gonna love this." And it was an advertisement for starting a league in Oklahoma City. To be honest, it wasn't like I ever went looking to play. If he hadn't shown me that, I wouldn't have gone down there to play. I wouldn't have started the league. I wouldn't be playing still. So to see these other people invested in the league and taking ownership, that probably makes me more happy than anything. Our league is just full of people that you would never have guessed, even 3 or 4 years ago, we're going to be on the ice playing, and then when we're not playing, wondering when we're going to play. And it's nice to see people be in love with the sport that they just never thought in a million years they were going to ever be playing or be excited about.
We hope you enjoyed our show. And remember, you can always watch entire episodes and share your favorite stories online at Osiyo.tv. There is no Cherokee word for goodbye because we know we'll see you again. We say, Doradago Ha'i. Wado.